Large conurbations are hubs of social and economic activity. In much the same way as other leading global cities, London is host to an ethnically diverse population, rendering it a cultural and dynamic society. London stands out from the rest of the UK as a favoured destination for young and economically active migrants. With 44% of the population being of British descent, Swinford stated that there is a large proportion of London who form the majority of the population, mainly identifying themselves as African, Indian and Caribbean. Duggan, in 2013, points out that whilst London may be known for its rich mix of people and cultures, if you were to dig a little deeper, you would find the vast numbers are living parallel lives and interacting only with people very similar to themselves. Ethnic enclaves have begun to emerge in London over the years, but the lack of social integration between ethnicities raises questions concerning social cohesion amongst the population. Lennox, in 2011, explains that a lack of social cohesion can erode social norms of reciprocity and cooperation. This creates certain challenges across different sectors through education to employment. As Davies stated in 2012, 80% of young students of immigrant families in the UK were taught in schools with large numbers of immigrant students, thus distorting the precipitation of social cohesion. These students from a young age are not mixing with other students from different faiths and from different ethnic backgrounds, which can create a social barrier for the future because their knowledge on a multicultural society is limited. This documentary is based on the following research question: do higher education institutions facilitate social integration between different ethnicities? A case study of male and female students at Kingston University. This documentary examines the levels of social integration between students and looks at consequent reasons for this. Kingston University was chosen as the institution to carry out this research as it is host to a wide range of ethnic backgrounds. 50.6% of students are black minority ethnic, while 49.4% of students are white. Universities from Russell groups compare drastically different. At Oxford University, 21% of students are identified as black minority ethnic, whilst Bristol has 20% of students who have declared their ethnicity as non-white. Kingston's diverse population of students allows us to gain perspectives from an array of different backgrounds. Kingston states that they are very proud of this diversity and all of the students offer unique skills and experiences and contribute fresh ideas and approaches to our community, enriching the learning environment and adding to your global experience. The aims of our studies were: firstly, to what extent do Kingston University students feel integrated amongst other ethnic groups? So, has a multicultural university such as Kingston helped in the facilitation of social integration amongst different ethnicities? And secondly, does this view differ between male and female students? So we investigated whether there was a difference between genders in regards to levels of integration. This study can help us to understand changes in cultural behaviours through levels of social cohesion, examining if factors such as religion play a role in the levels of integration within a student population. Furthermore, it will help us to understand if and why integration may differ between males and females. There is an abundance of literature surrounding the importance of social integration amongst ethnicities, detailing the consequences that lack of integration can have on many levels. The importance of integration is notably manifested in policy. Following civil disturbances in various northern towns in 2001, Worley in 2005 stated that government discourses within the UK attempted and continued to restructure and remould previous race relation policies towards a newer and arguably more inclusive community cohesion policy to be embedded institutionally. On this basis, ethnic integration and work on cohesion function as tributaries feeding into the reservoir of social development and thus other developments within the UK. In regards to education, much literature based on studies into the prolonged effects of integration reveal that ethnically integrated communities at higher education institution level are conducive to more prosperous professional outcomes in later life, with Hurtado et al. In 1999 stating that the learning environment is enhanced by diversity. McNeely et al. In 2002 found that higher social connectedness was positively associated with participation in extracurricular activities, tolerant disciplinary policies and small school size. Studies conducted, alike Hallinan and Williams in 1989, suggest that people would rather socialise with those who are like them on multiple dimensions. Such literature implicates heterogeneous education institutions in being formally integrated but not informally. Furthermore, literature conducted by Thomas in 2002 stated that students are more inclined to drop out of university if they feel they are not integrated within the social fabric of academic institutions. Severines and Wolfe in 2008 denote that this issue can also be seen at a structural level, including employment. Kingston University has recently been awarded the Guardian's Diversity Initiative Award, which includes combating economic disparity between different groups of students. This award was given on behalf of a project running at Kingston University named Mainstreaming Equality, Diversity and Inclusion into Academic Career Progression. The strategy was designed to ensure that women, people from ethnic minority backgrounds and those with disabilities find employment, aiming to remove the stereotype of white male senior academics. This illustrates the active approach taken by the university in embedding equality, diversity and inclusion into mainstream university policies. Such projects by the university facilitate economic equality and integration for minority students. This denotes the importance of social cohesion. It illuminates the severe implications that segregated workplaces can have on an individual's life choices, reiterating its significance in social development. As illustrated, the role of higher education institutions are fundamental in acting as a bridge between education and the workplace, and so Kingston University should be encouraging ethnic integration. If ethnic integration succeeds at the university, it will pave way for further ethnic integration post-education, promoting social development in London. The methodology used to investigate this topic utilised qualitative and quantitative data. Quantitative data was collected through a questionnaire format. This allowed us to collect a large quantity of data to be analysed and was representative of the student body, with 1%, 220 students, completing the survey. The questionnaire asks questions that determine whether they feel ethnically integrated at university, if this has changed since school, and if ethnic diversity exists amongst their friendship groups. However, qualitative data was also obtained to provide a more in-depth understanding into what extent students feel integrated and potential reasons underlying this. Semi-structured interviews were used as the format for the qualitative data collection. As Longhurst in 2010 points out, semi-structured interviews allow the interviewees to be more open and responsive rather than yes and no answers that can be generated from a more structured interview schedule. Originally, interviewees were to be carried out with different focus groups, including some from different ethnic societies, as these societies were deemed beneficial for accessing different groups. However, due to a lack of responses, interviews were conducted with groups of students from extracurricular activities and different degree subjects. This included a focus group of geography students, a focus group of rowing club students, a focus group of business students, and an interview with the manager and CEO of Kingston's University Student Union. The interviews that were conducted involved discussions on their opinions in regards to social integration at Kingston University through personal experiences and what they perceived the rest of Kingston to be like. Both qualitative and quantitative methods provided us with the best possible analytical strategy for this research. So, on to the questionnaire analysis. Out of the 209 respondents from the survey, 49.8% were male and 48.8% were female. The majority of respondents were white British at 38.3%. 25.9% stated that they were Indian, 8.8% Chinese, 7.3% white and Asian, 7.3% Bangladeshis, and other ethnicities made up 13.9% of respondents, with 7.6% not stating their ethnicity. This is fairly representative of Kingston University's ethnic composition. Both summative and inferential statistics were used for the analysing of the questionnaire data and looking at gender differences between answers. For inferential statistics, chi-squared was performed for some of the questions as both the dependent variable of gender and the comparable variables were nominal data. For questions where the other variable was ordinal, Mann-Whitney was used. Tactically, respondents were asked if they felt ethnically integrated at Kingston University twice in the questionnaire. This was so they could give their immediate response and then a response after answering specific questions on integration at Kingston University. The two questions produced similar results of around 60% saying that it was an integrated environment. So although this suggests that the majority feel ethnically integrated, there is also a large percentage that don't feel ethnically integrated. Using chi-squared to test the difference between male and female respondents, the error rate was at 7.4%, demonstrating that there is no difference between genders. When looking at whether this feeling of integration has changed since school, 55.2% of people said that they felt more integrated at university. However, the results of the Mann-Whitney test showed that the mean rank of males was 104.48 and females 102.5. So by looking at these figures, you can state that the male respondents felt more integrated at university than school compared to females. However, this is a minor difference and the error rate was 80%, a strong indication there is no strong difference between genders. The questionnaire also told us how integrated people felt in various university scenarios. They were asked on a scale of 1 to 5 how integrated they felt in university sports, course activities such as seminars, group work and lectures, and the social environment. In places such as the space bar and dining hall and in societies, the scenario came out that the most integrated was the social environment, with an average rating of 3.44, and the least integrated environment was the university societies with an average of 3.25. However, again, this is a minor difference and the slightly lower result for societies would be expected as many societies are grouped by ethnicity. After using a Mann-Whitney test to assess if there was a difference between genders, all scenarios exceeded the 0.5% error rate, indicating that there was no difference between genders. However, 52.7% of respondents stated that their friendship group consisted of one ethnicity. This is quite a substantial figure, and although Davies 2012 says that there is normally a push from parents of ethnic minorities to encourage their children to mix with the same ethnicity or faith, 63.2% of respondents said that neither parents' religion nor friends influenced their choice of friends. Conflicting this idea, though, it is important to consider that the majority of questionnaire respondents were of white ethnicity. One of the interviews was with Mark Horn, General Manager of Kingston University's Student Union. This mainly focused around the role of societies at Kingston University.
They allow the opportunity for those individuals who are seeking to be with people that they understand and know, but at the same time I think because they're such a massive part of the union, I mean there's 98 societies now, that actually it just becomes such an integral part that everybody starts operating together, so they're all even though they're in different societies, they're all part of society membership. So I think, if anything, my personal opinion is I think it encourages integration if it's managed properly.
He suggested that societies can be viewed in these two different ways, and that there is always risk of, in his words, ghettoisation, though he says that their role is important to support integration, and that sometimes people want to meet different people from themselves. However, why ethnic groups tend to form societies may be explained by people forming university friendships based on similar interests. Mark suggests that integration is not solely about getting different ethnicities to integrate. He has witnessed segregation issues within the societies themselves as people have different opinions of what the group should represent.
The Afro-Caribbean Society, for instance, used to be a massive society. I mean, we're talking 600 members. But they had internal fallings out about what their individual view of what that society was. So you get half a group that want to just basically go out and party and engage in that side of black culture, and the other half who were looking at black history, were looking at educational roles and that sort of thing. And that creates splinters. So actually then societies fall apart because they don't really share the same vision of what they want to do.
Yeah. Kingston University Student Union said the key to ethnic integration through societies is events. Mark says that constitutionally, societies have to be open to everyone, and that is one way to encourage ethnic integration within societies. In addition to this, he explains how the Freshers' Fair demonstrates how well integrated Kingston University is, as all societies operate under one roof without major disputes. Mark says he does not see ethnic integration as a problem at Kingston University. However, Mark stated that cultural practices have come into play where students' integration issues in the social environment tend to stem from family conflicts. Furthermore, Mark says that integration issues lie within the Kingston Borough, the community that these ethnic minority groups are living in, as opposed to the university itself. Kingston University students make up the majority of BME students living in Kingston.
Kingston's a really interesting example though, because if you think about it, 53% of our students now are BME, minority ethnic, in a predominantly white borough. So the real issue I see is not so much around integration within the universities, it's about trying to do integration.
This has caused issues for ethnic societies within the university. Mark says that after the shoe bomber incident in 2001, many students did not want to join the Islamic Society, as some other universities had given over the names of all the members of their Islamic Society to the police. In response to this, Kingston University went out to Islamic students and guaranteed that they would not follow suit. This action by the university illustrates the importance of KUSU in making every group feel included. An interview with 4 business studies students attending Kingston University mainly focused on how integrated they felt within their course and the university. On the whole, the group felt that they were integrated, but this only applied to their course. They suggested that societies at Kingston based on ethnicity implies that they are only for that type of person. One interviewee mentioned on a side note that he was part of the Oriental Society, and they encourage different ethnicities to be a part of the society through their events, such as barbecues. They stated, "We welcome everybody, it's not just strictly Orientals." They suggested that while their course and some societies were integrated, the university wasn't. The group said some universities had better reputations with ethnic minorities than others. One of the group stated, "Kingston's got a good reputation with Manchester, Birmingham, with the Asian community." This can be seen as a form of segregation within students joining the university, specifically to remain with their ethnic group and comfort zones, because as one participant said, they had a lot in common, so you wouldn't find racism. The participants felt that their school was more integrated than Kingston University was. One said that they had experienced a big change in integration between their school and Kingston. They felt that outside of their courses, students with similar interests were well integrated. One of the group members, involved in extracurricular activities, stated that the American football team, my friends on it, are all very integrated. Asians, blacks, whites all work together very well. The participants felt that a shared hobby or sport helped overcome ethnic boundaries. The students identified Muslim women as the most segregated group in Kingston University. They cited their outward expression of religion as one of the factors for their segregation. One of the business students said, "They stand out the most definitely. They stay with their culture where they feel safe." The fact that women of other ethnicities didn't participate in as many sports or clubs was also identified as a factor in the segregation of women of ethnic minorities. When they were asked if this lack of activity participation affected white ethnic groups, the participants said it didn't. Our next interview was with the rowing club at Kingston University. The rowing club stated that they were not an ethnically diverse club and put this down to it being a traditional sport, arguing that traditionally competitive rowing originated in the Western world. The members of the club then went on to say they felt more ethnically integrated at university. However, on further interrogation, the majority of respondents said that there were many ethnicities in university, but they do not mix. Though one person did add, "It depends on your course." They said their friendship groups were not ethnically diverse, and this is due to being a member of the rowing club. Training every day has meant that the sports club has become their main social group, as this is not diverse. Neither is their social sphere, as one member named it. The group as a whole seem unopinionated when asked, "Do you think it is important to be ethnically integrated?" Though one member suggested that it is not.
It's more about accepting, and just accepting what they want to do.
You can understand them, you don't have to
go
along
as long
with
as you
it.
respect and understand.
Yeah, respect's a big thing.
I think
You've got to be able to respect it. Might not agree to it, but as long as you respect it, then you're okay.
However, one geography student said in his own words, "Personally, integration's a great thing. I come from like an inner city area. My sixth form was pretty much like Kingston. It had loads of different ethnicities and, like I said, there would be groups and crowds together, but at the same time we wouldn't find it a problem to speak to people who aren't from a similar background." Although representatives for geography said they did not feel that their course was too ethnically diverse, they did say there was a strong integration level between the ethnicities that exist. However, one respondent who is from an Arabic background commented that, "At the same time of having a lot of mixture going on, I can see groups. I mean, I automatically see groups of Arabs, and that's ones I can relate to, so I will hang around with them. It's a natural thing." When asked if they thought the university helped to support an ethnically integrated environment, one interviewee answered, "I don't think it does anything to facilitate it at all. It doesn't do anything to cause segregation, though," to which another added, "Segregation is quite a harsh word. It's not a segregated environment. If someone wants to join my group, not from an Arabic background, they are more than welcome. However, they might not feel entirely comfortable." He continued to say, participating activities such as group work is one way to overcome the issue of people feeling uncomfortable. When asked if the university should actively compose groups for work that are ethnically mixed, a reply was, "We shouldn't care about ethnicity, so why does it matter to encourage ethnic integration? It needs to become a social norm." However, all of the interviewees said they were good friends and were an ethnically diverse group. They said their friendship group was made through group work and field works. When the subject of gender and ethnic integration was approached, respondents said it was difficult to answer before finally coming to the conclusion that they don't think one gender is more ethnically integrated than the other. So, how can ethnic integration be enhanced at Kingston University? Well, Mark Horn argues, creating more social space. Simply if there is more social space, people will interact more. Looking back at our data, the general consensus amongst focus groups was that friendships at Kingston University are formed based upon similar interests. This was reiterated in the questionnaires, where students were asked where they form their friendships. It is important to note that 63.2% stated that faith, friendships and family were not influential on these friendship groups they have formed since being at university. This illustrates that the level of integration that students exhibit are through their own personal choices and based upon similar interests or shared identities. Such interests can include the course that students are partaking in, as well as their shared locality within Kingston, such as their halls of residence. Both of these suggest that Kingston facilitates social integration through the mixing of students within the course, particularly in terms of group work or field work, but also in terms of their accommodation. 55.2% acknowledged that they felt more integrated at the university compared to their previous school environment. Shared interests can also include extracurricular activities such as sports. And lastly, it can include the formation of friendships based upon a shared identity in terms of religion, culture and ethnicity. In the questionnaire data, 66% stated that their friendship group consisted of the majority of one ethnicity, or entirely of one ethnicity, and so this implies that friendships formed based upon ethnicity are the most common when forming social groups at Kingston. Our research thus implies that social integration between different ethnicities in friendship groups is not prevalent across Kingston University. However, when students were asked about the levels of integration they perceived at the university, around 60% stated they believed it was integrated. This suggests that there is a difference between the students' personal experiences and the students' attitudes and beliefs of the university as a whole. This implies that the students believe that the student body within Kingston University is formally integrated but not informally. This supports research by Hallinan and Williams in 1989 and many others that implicate a heterogeneous student population in contributing to a lack of informal integration between different groups of people. However, it is important to note that students may perceive integration in different ways. Students in the focus groups did acknowledge the ambiguity of the term integration. Even though there was a fair representation of both males and females in the questionnaire data, there proved to be little difference in regards to their opinions on the level of social integration at Kingston University between genders, both statistically and within most of the interviews. There was also no statistical difference between the opinions of different ethnicities. It is therefore suggested that a larger sample size may have provided more differences between data, but as such, the confidence levels for comparisons between ethnicities and genders were not statistically significant. As a note for further research, Mark witnessed that there are not just differing interests amongst different ethnicities, but also within ethnicities, and it would be thus of interest to examine social integration within each ethnicity.
Necessarily, again, goes back to that idea of social engineering, does it? I think it's encouraged, and I think the policies are there to try to get people to get the most out of their time at university. I mean, it would be a very sad time at university if you didn't meet anybody from a different background. Yeah. So that goes back to the conversation around societies being involved in sort of keeping themselves to themselves. That's a really sad way of spending your university life. Yeah.
Thank you for watching our documentary. I hope it was as informative for you as it was for us.